Welcome to Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. We smell fall is in the air. The holidays are here, but also so is Election Day. We know it's Tuesday, November 7th, and of course early voting perhaps is even started now, or you might be even doing absentee voting. Here at KCHF TV and Issues and Answers, we have invited the city councilors running for city council positions. I think there are 4 open, and those who have accepted our invitation are on the air. We have a candidate for District 6. It is Nichole Rogers. She has accepted our invitation, and because of that, she's in our studio right now, and we're going to introduce you to Nichole Rogers, who is running for Albuquerque City Council, District 6. We'll meet Nichole Rogers right after this. Stay with us.
Hey America, now there's a place where we can join our voice. Real America's Voice. Real America's Voice is coming to a town near you with a grassroots approach, bringing the real voice of America together. Real America's Voice is growing our family of networks across the country, and soon you could be part of that change. Download the Real America's Voice app and join other Americans just like you across the country, coming together for real change.
We're introducing you to Albuquerque City Council candidates. Those who have accepted our invitation here at KCHF TV are in our studio, and we're introducing them to you. We've invited all of them, and we're so pleased that Nichole Rogers, who is running for Albuquerque City Council District 6, is here, ready to meet you. Yes. Thank you, Nichole.
Thank you.
Thanks for throwing your hat into the ring. First time as a candidate for City Council. Why the heck do you want to do this, Nichole Rogers?
Great question. For me, I had spent the last 2.5 years working within city government and the Office of Equity and Inclusion, and really just there were a lot of barriers to change being in that role. And so I thought, well, where could I be where obviously there's different barriers, I'm sure, but where I could ask questions, I could get answers to questions that will help drive change. And so the place to do that is City Council. City Council controls the $1.4 billion budget of the city, and I really do think we can do more to collaboratively face the issues that our community.
Had you considered running prior to working for the city?
I had not. I had not considered politics at all. My life has been in public service in different ways. Before I was at the city, I was at UNM Hospital supporting nurses through the height of the pandemic. Before that, I was at CNM in Health, Wellness, and Public Safety, helping students with their education needs. Before that, I was in the business sector. So I have a spirit of really just trying to make things better where I can, and so that the changes are felt even after I leave. And so for me, I also am a single mom of 2 beautiful kids, and I want them to see Albuquerque as a place that they can want to stay after they graduate high school and want to, to stay and grow roots here. Selfishly as a mom, I don't want them to want to go, and our youth do. They do want, can't wait till they can get out of Albuquerque, and we really, we need to do more. Especially for our youth.
And since you're running for city council, you had to step down in May from your position with the city.
Yes, I did.
And now you're working for the African American Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, I am. I get to go back to my business roots and help business owners get access to resources, and also work on business owners and making sure they're homeowners. That's one of the big initiatives that I get to help with at the chamber, is making sure small business owners are also homeowners. For just to close the racial wealth gap is a really big thing for me, and it's just a lack of knowledge and a lack of access to the resources of knowledge that help us overcome poverty.
District 6 is part of South Los Altos. We know where Los Altos is, Louisiana and I-40 basically. So you're in the southern part plus the so-called international district.
Yes, so District 6 is a very big district. There's over 33,000 registered voters, and it's a very big district. So the borders are really Eubank and I-40. Then it takes it all the way down to Gibson, even up to Mesa del Sol, and then all the way down to I-25. So you have Nob Hill, you have downtown, you have Elder Homestead, you have Highland Business District, you have International District. So it's a
Downtown as well?
Some of downtown, yeah. Lomas is the barrier there. So Lomas, everything south of Lomas is District 6. So it's a very big district with a lot of different. We had the honor of going to every single neighborhood so far. That was one of my big things. I need to go to every neighborhood and knock on doors. Each neighborhood has unique character and has unique issues, but there are some similar ones across all the neighborhoods.
What are you hearing from your future potential constituents? What are they telling you, Nichole Rogers?
My community priorities are solely based on what I've heard from community. And so the big one, public safety. Public safety is on the top of a lot of our neighborhoods' minds. Of course, our unsheltered neighbors, and most people I talk to want to figure out a better solution, but also know it's inhumane to leave folks just living out, and especially as it starts to get cold, and the heat wave that we had. And so really those are the two type things. And I also heard a lot about poverty. Too many families in District 6 don't have what they need to basically survive, let alone thrive. And so.
Now, had you known that prior to running for office?
I did. I've lived in District 6. I bought a home there 6 years ago myself as a single mom. And I have seen the ebbs and flows of the neighborhood of where I live. I'm close to Central and General Somerville. So if you know the generals on Central, it's an increasingly tough area. But for me, it boils down to generational poverty. We have folks who are in cycles of poverty. And how do we stop that? How do we interrupt that? Because for me, home ownership was what helped me get out of poverty. It is something that I'm a champion for. And I want to see how the city can incentivize average folks to become homeowners. Because
how did it get you out of the cycle?
Well, for me, the cycle of renting is the rug could. Anytime the rug could be pulled up from under me. For instance, one time I had to move because the homeowner wanted to sell the home.
Sure.
Right? So I had 30 days to move. As a single mom with limited income, your choices of where you can go are small, right? And so owning a home, I know that I'm in control of my destiny. I pay my mortgage. I will have a home. No one's upping my rent every year. And so it changed my financial trajectory. It allows us to use the equity of our home to do things like start businesses, or I'm going to use it to send my daughter to college, things like that. So she doesn't have to go into debt with student loans, right? Those are things that are generational.
So as a city councilor, how could you make home ownership, if you are a strong believer of that, taking you out of the cycle of poverty?
We're already doing it. We don't have to wait till I'm in office because we can do the work now. So right now we actually just launched, we had 58 Black potential homeowners come in to an event. We partnered with United South Broadway United South Broadway Center, and we start with financial literacy education. And not just for literacy, but for competency.
Now, was this from the African American Chamber?
Yes, part of the chamber. Yeah, and this I started when I was at the city, and I just get to continue the work through the chamber, partnering still with the city. And the beautiful thing is we're starting with financial competency. So we're going to give you the tools that you need to know the terms and the simple things that we just don't get taught, because we have generations of non-homeowners.
So they wouldn't know this.
So you have to, we're matching them up with mentors that look like them who are homeowners to say, you can do this. Even with this volatile market, you can absolutely make it happen.
Even with this crazy market, Nichole Rogers, really?
So. If we give people what they need, if we can provide down payment assistance, why not? Why not?
Because the market's pretty crazy out there. Regarding home ownership is one way to break the cycle of poverty.
Yes.
Also, you have a program that you want to do, a pilot program of, what was it called?
Universal Basic Income.
Universal Basic Income pilot program.
Yes, and this is something Mayor Keller signed up to do in May 2020. If you go to Mayors for Guaranteed Income, you'll see him there talking about wanting to do a pilot. We've just never done it. And what it is I just went to a screening of a documentary that's a great documentary called Inherit Good. And it's really a biblical principle that says people are inherently good. That means we trust them, especially the mothers in our communities, to make decisions of what they need for their families. And so what the pilot is you give, and Santa Fe did this for parents who were enrolled in Santa Fe Community College. They had about 100 participants. They gave them $500 extra a month, no strings attached, and they had to just share what it did for their lives. Some single moms bought cars so they didn't have to worry about, one told a story about transportation issues on the bus, and she was deemed as a poor employee because of transportation issues. Well, this extra money allowed her to buy a vehicle. She increased her job opportunities because now she can go further in the city. And so these are things that we can do that we've already said we want to sign up to do. We just need to do it and pilot it and see how that actually changes the trajectory for families.
So Santa Fe is doing this, you're saying?
Santa Fe is doing it.
Would this be similar, requiring them to enroll in the Albuquerque Community College?
Well, the great thing is we haven't that work has not been talked about how would Albuquerque do this. And that's why I'm starting this conversation, is because we have champions for it. We have Albuquerque's for Basic Income group that's already talking about the research. And so I want to do a community engagement process where we bring community members who would benefit from this and say, who should we do? Who should we leave up? For me, gun violence, victims of gun violence, we have a huge, I was the mayor's chair for the gun violence task force at the city. And looking at the data for youth and gun violence, we can interrupt those cycles with youth. Let's do it with youth. Get them plugged into some internships. They can earn money and have something to replace the behaviors that aren't getting them further in life.
So that could be a possibility, starting with youth instead of women, possibly.
I think sky's the limit. We can think of, and we can dream together about, and that's why community first is my slogan for it's not a slogan, it's how I want to lead. In
this money, where would the money come from? Other taxpayers would be paying for this?
Yeah, you know, where I want to take it from is city is already getting $220,000 per month in cannabis tax money. That's just sitting in the general fund. So why couldn't we reinvest that, regardless of your feelings of the legislation? It's here. Let's at least take that money and do some good with it. And so right now the city there's nothing allocated for that money. Why can't we use that already? We wouldn't need to raise taxes or do anything like that. We can use the cannabis tax money and let's reinvest it.
What are they doing with that money? I'm sure it's going to be earmarked Nichole Rogers for something. There can't be a pool of money sitting.
It's in the general fund. See, and that's why we need more people to understand the budget of the city. Because as tax money comes in, it sits in the general fund until the city council or the administration puts in where they want that to be going. And so it's supposed to be going to City Council soon for a cannabis equity program that would allocate those funds to what the community said they wanted. And they wanted universal basic income, they wanted expungement clinics for people to get these charges taken off, and they want grant funding so that our local businesses don't keep getting squished out by the big companies coming in.
Oh, what's going on in your district regarding small businesses,
Yes,
Nichole? What's going on?
See, we unfortunately have a lot of businesses leaving the area. We had the historic Griff's hamburger joint that left recently that had been there for over 40 years. We're seeing that small businesses are leaving District 6, so we have to figure out how to stop that flood of
And why are they leaving? What have you found out, Nichole?
You know, what we're hearing is just the conditions of the neighborhood when it comes to also infrastructure, even things as simple as streetlights and sidewalks in some areas. Simple things that if you notice, it stops at San Mateo. San Mateo up Central, you'll see a very different, even just infrastructure and streetlights. Why don't we have streetlights? We should have streetlights. So even simple things like that will help with our business. It'll help with crime. I had my ride along with APD, and they talked about the dark streets in our districts. And obviously we don't have enough officers for them to just be randomly patrolling. But when they're actually actively looking for someone, the streets are dark. It's really hard for them. So
now sidewalks, I understand the businesses have to actually pay for them themselves. The businesses along, or the houses along the streets, which is sometimes is a surprise to homeowners within a city.
Yeah,
that, I bought the house and now they're saying that my sidewalk is, or the public sidewalk is crumbling, but understand the homeowner or business along that stretch has to pony up the money for that.
Some areas, yeah. And we have our municipal development department is really the place to call to get those questions asked, because I think it differs in which neighborhoods that is. Yeah.
How can we improve, or you as a city councilor improve our public safety? here in the city. I
Yes.
mean, we're all responsible. It's not just city council, not just the mayor, not the police chief.
Yeah,
we
agree.
all are responsible.
And I love that you said that, because that's exactly what I want voters to realize, or all all people who
You
live in
can
the city.
create magic, really,
No,
yourselves.
And it's not, public safety is not just police. Public safety includes our new Albuquerque Community Safety Department, who is taking social service calls off of APD so they can go after the people no one's mad at them going after, right? We have City Security Division that is actually answering and going to a lot of calls at our bus stops that people don't realize. Our Albuquerque Fire and Rescue, they're at scenes before police in a lot of our cases. We also know from the data that Station 5, right next to International District Library in our district.
Whereabouts is that?
It's off of Central, near the new International District Library, just east of Louisiana.
Okay, East Louisiana.
That station is the 13th busiest station in the entire country in that district, in my district.
Fire and rescue.
Fire and rescue.
What's going on?
All the calls that they go to that police can't go to, or EMS. A lot of people don't realize we have EMS in our fire stations too.
Yeah.
So those calls are going to our firefighters. And we have been slotted for another fire station, and we have not built it. So that's one of the things I want to do that will help public safety is, if you are suffering like our elderly, we have a big elderly population in District 6. If someone has a heart attack, they shouldn't be waiting longer than somebody on the west side, just because we have not built another fire station to handle the volume. We need that. And so that's one of the things I think would help public safety is we need adequate services.
Of course, that's reacting to crime. That's reacting to things. What about trying to stop the crime in our city?
Yeah, well, I think when it comes to crime, I think we need to be honest about what the data is.
Okay.
And saying, we are seeing a decrease in certain crime. Now, violent crime and murders, we're not. And I think that's what most people are most concerned about. And retail theft are the things that I'm hearing, of course, especially from business owners. The bottom line is we do have a huge shortage of officers. I did my APD ride-along this last week, and I was shocked at seeing how many calls were coming in that our officers cannot go to. Because we don't have enough taking calls.
So I haven't gone on a ride-along. You have had the privilege to do that. What happens at a ride-along? You see on the computer screen?
Yeah, you're in the car with them, responding with them. I had a bulletproof vest like them. And you can see as he's going through the calls, the volume, which calls they are. He was showing me, how they see which are priority calls, how dispatch prioritizes calls.
So the dispatch prioritizes it. It comes on the screen.
Yeah, and
now, just for that police officer's area, or throughout the city?
For just that particular police officer, for us, we were in the Southeast Command Center.
Okay, so did the police officer have a choice where to go?
Oh no, they do it based on priority. I mean, based on the like. For instance, while I was on my ride along, we had a very horrible fatal crash in the district, right in District 6 off of Cardenas. You may have seen it in the news. And so I was with him while he's driving fast to get there and trying to find the suspect, and we're right there with them.
What happened with that particular crash?
That particular crash is.
I mean, it was a hit and run?
No, it was a individual who had stolen a vehicle and was running and ran a stop sign and just hit another car.
Who died? The person?
The passenger of the other car.
The other car passenger
Yes.
died.
Yes.
And did that other person who hit him flee? The person
They did, and that's what APD had to then find them.
Well, what did you and your officer do?
He started they got their orders from the sergeant to start scouring the neighborhood. They called for air support to try to get eyes up high to find that person. It was quite, and what's interesting is the parallel from working with nurses at the hospital and working with police officers is so similar. It's really, really interesting. And, I think as a woman of color, I obviously have had my critiques of my dad's a police officer. So I have a very interesting view that, yes, we need to minimize our community's exposure to police, but we still need them.
You saw that as a ride-along.
Absolutely.
What happened? I mean, you didn't go to the car that was the person who was injured. You didn't stop there. You went
No.
to find the fleeing suspect.
Yeah, that particular officer had to go, and once they figured out where that person was, then he was assigned to go to the hospital to check on the other victim. So
you were assigned to do that?
Yeah, so we had to go to the hospital, which I got to see all my hospital friends from the hospital while I was there. But it was
What did you learn from that experience that you would take if you become the next city councilor from District 6?
What I took from that experience was we need more officers. I mean, point blank, seriously, for the active calls that police should be responding to. I don't think they should be responding to social service calls. You know, mental health checks and homelessness are down and outs, things that aren't violent, we don't need police for. And so Albuquerque Community Safety is a really great way that's helping with police, minimizing the community's exposure to police.
Nichole Rogers, running for District 6 City Council. What else would you like to share with the viewers that I haven't asked that you'd like to tell them about yourself?
Well, what I would like people to know is just my heart for my community. I just love Albuquerque. I share the frustrations of the community, but I really believe in the hope of what we can do together if we collaborate together, and that we really can change the issues. There are solutions out there. We just have to band together and say we're all in this together. It's not just this person's job or that person's job or the county or the city or the state. We all need to come together to tackle these tough issues that are facing.
How would we come together?
Yeah, I would say pulling our resources together and not duplicating efforts is a big one. We have certain groups working on this at all of our agencies. We're not all talking together. Our social service providers, how do we get all of them together in a room to talk about how we can pool our resources together and actually make some good? Other thing I want to do is really focus on preparing for the role at the same time of running for it. So I've been going and learning about how can city councilors actually advocate for federal funding, and we don't do enough of that. I got to go to the National League of Cities conference that's in Washington, D.C., and it's an opportunity, and by the way, none of our city councilors were there, which I thought was a missed opportunity, because during that conference, the yearly conference, you get access to all of your congressional delegation in Washington. You get your own meeting with them. You get a meeting with all of the heads of the departments, like Department of Transportation, Human Services in Washington. So you can advocate directly for our community, and you can actually bring in funding ourselves. And that's what I'm learning how to do, so that we can bring funding to Albuquerque that will help us with some of the issues and get them to the people who are actually doing the work in the community.
Very good. Regarding the shoplifting and things, why do you think we're having this epidemic?
Again, I think it goes back to poverty.
But I mean, are they New Mexicans? Are they Albuquerqueans? Or are they people from the outside coming in here? I've heard there are gangs. They're like cartels of shoplifters that they're being paid actually to do this and then selling all these things online. Yeah. That's just not the individual drug addict who's doing it anymore, as we used to think. What are your thoughts on this, Nichole?
I think I'm a data-driven person, so I think we can conflate a lot of things just based on people's opinions.
Right.
And so I try to stay very focused on what the data says. And when we look at FBI recently, you can go to their website for their center here, and talks about human trafficking numbers, those types of rings of crime. So I definitely think we do know we have that. But I also know that what we are also seeing is poverty. People are stealing things to sell them because they need money to live, in most cases. I mean, are there drug addicted people? Yes. Are there people out there who choose a life of crime? I'm sure. But I choose to believe people are inherently good, and that if we help them with a leg up and get them into the resources to overcome their issues, people will rise to the occasion. And that's what I truly, truly believe in my heart. And so that's the lens I see the world in, and then that's the lens I think if we just meet people where they are, help them with solutions if they want the help.
If they want the help, right. And regarding, you were mentioning the homeless or the people who prefer to live on the street. Some of them prefer to live there. They're not people maybe from Albuquerque, but they've come from out of state. Don't we have a lot of now housing and resources available for people, but not the people who want to go into these houses?
Yeah, I think personally have gone out and doing homeless outreach, specifically like for the census, for instance. We had to go out in the middle of the night, talk to folks who were out living in the streets, sleeping in the streets in the middle of the night. We went out at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was asking that question, like, if you had an option to be housed, would you? I never heard no. But the difference is, who is going out and actually putting them in permanent housing? That's what I'm interested in. Who in our community is actually ending the cycle of homelessness? And how do we fund that? Rather than, oh, we fed this, yes, we need to feed people, but we fed this many people, but how many people are we actually placing into supportive housing that will interrupt the cycle of homelessness and keep people housed? Who's doing that?
What's another priority of yours, Nichole?
Yeah. One other priority for me is it really centers around healthcare. And a lot of folks are saying, well, the county has purview over the health, not the city. But we learned in COVID that our city had to take an active role in what was happening, and especially updates. And so I think we've learned that the city has to take a more active role. And the city does have some health centers at some of our community centers, like Alamosa has a health center on the west side. But how do we get some to the communities that need them in District 6? I don't think a lot of people realize that in Bernalillo County, the poverty is centered in District 6.
And why is that, Nichole?
Oh man, there's so many layers to that. I think a lot of the services reside in our district. I think a lot of the multifamily housing, affordable housing is centered in our district. So how do we share that amongst our districts? Why does District 6 have to carry the brunt of that? But I also know that there's some amazing people here who care for people in District 6. And that's why you see a lot of folks coming, because there are people who are doing the hard work to take care of folks and to help get them what they need.
Very good.
Yeah.
Hopefully your voice has been heard by our audience. Thank you so much for throwing your hat into the ring, Nichole Rogers, candidate for District 6, and for sharing your thought and your enthusiasm with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Very good. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And your future, and to your children.
Thank you.
And hopefully this is a good enough community for them to want to stay.
Yes, that's what we're working hard for.
We're working hard. Thank you for watching the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. We've invited all the candidates who are running for City Council this November 7th. Those who've accepted, like Nichole Rogers, have been our guests. So we appreciate you watching the show, and we hope that you have a great week with your family, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The New Mexico Modern Child Support Family Program works to benefit both parents for the purpose of improving children's lives. It provides the basics of child support, but goes further by helping parents step up to find better job opportunities that get them back on track to paying their monthly child support obligation. Find out how the Child Support Step Up program can help your modern family. Contact New Mexico Child Support today to learn more.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program or to purchase a copy of any Issues and Answers program, visit sunbroadcasting.org or call us at 505-345-1991.